the treaty was signed in 1874, and the area that is set out now is comprises some 1,300 acres right now. If some of you are familiar with Fort Qu'Appelle, it stems from, I don't know if you know where the Kentucky Fried Chicken House is back here, but it stems from that street, I think it's called Boundary Avenue, over to the east, up to the lakes, then to the back to the ski resort. All that land was the area designated as a treaty reserve, special reserve. In 1878-79, the Indian chiefs and the leaders, when they came down to meet for their annuity payments, they noticed that there were a lot of settlers and half-breeds starting to settle on this special treaty reserve. The reserve was promised to them as a place where they would always come and meet to get their annuity payments, to discuss the treaty and the progressions that were made in regards to it. But a lot of the chiefs back then became alarmed. There were a lot of people settling on it, right on the treaty area, right on the special treaty reserve. And they wanted assurances from the Indian commissioner at that time that that would no longer happen. In 1881, when it came time for the annuity payments again, Chief Payapot protested to the commissioner at that time about the settlers encroaching on their special reserve, the land that was set out for them based on treaty. And there's an interesting quotation that I want to read out here. Basically, it's coming from the commissioner at the time, too, was Dewdney, and he's writing a letter to the people in Ottawa. It reads, "On August 17th, I had a council with Payapot. He wished me to meet him where he had placed his flag, but I advised him to come to the Indian office about a quarter of a mile from the flag. But in his speech to me, he said, 'Where I have the flag, that is the land promised for the treaty, and that is where I want to get my money. Now, why did you not let me know about that the white man was settling all in the bottom here?' And before the commissioner could even get a chance to reply, Payapot just strode away because he's terribly upset at the breach of treaty. On May 8th, 1894, since the annuity payments were no longer set up here on the treaty reserve, action was taken by Mr. Hayter Reed, Deputy Superintendent General of INAC, to dispose of the land. Basically, he sent a memo stating that since the land is no longer needed for the annuity payments and discussions of treaty, because all the Indian people are getting paid back on the reserves, there's no longer a need for the special treaty land.
Why were treaties struck in the first place? Why were treaties made in the first place? They were made for a simple reason that the Crown, the sovereign, recognized that they did not have title to the land, that the title remained with the Indian nations of Canada. That's who had the title. Now, in order for the Crown or the sovereign to settle the land, they had to have access to this title. They had to gain title to the land. And the only way they could do that was through treaties. In order to get the Indian people to agree to sign the treaty, in order to get them to agree to sign their X on the dotted line, so to speak, they were given the assurances that, quote and unquote, you would not be subject to any imposition of any tax, nor enforced military service. That's in the Treaty Commissioner's report to Ottawa. Now, it's written down there, and it's verbally talked about through all the number of treaties. The elders will make reference to it. That was one of the promises. No tax, no enforced military service. We will not have to do that. We will not have to pay that. We will not have to endure that. But then along comes a GST. It's a federal tax on everybody, including treaty Indian people, which goes against our understanding of treaty.
We recognize that our treaties have been breached many, many times, and we recognize that our treaties aren't being fulfilled according to the spirit and intent and according to the way that they were made for us. We know that, our elders know that, and we know that.
Our understanding of what was surrendered was this, the topsoil, because we recognize as Indian people that the Europeans wanted to farm it. So that's part of the negotiations. That's part of the agreements. That's not in the treaty. but it was talked about, and it was verbally agreed to. So when we talk about the sharing of the land, when we talk about what was surrendered, that's all that was surrendered. The right to come in and use the topsoil to farm and settle it. That's what was surrendered.
You have a valid claim now, after we were told no twice. This land we're on. Treaty 4 Grounds, Reserve number 77.
We do, as Aboriginal First Nations, have a special relationship with the Crown. We do indeed have treaty rights. And they're here for as long as the sun shines, the rivers flow, and the grass grows. They will not be terminated. They cannot, there is no end to that. They are here forever. And people have to realize and understand that.
There is no better way to promote and protect our rights than through an education and awareness, not only for Indian people, for our non-Indian brothers and sisters, so we can go on and peacefully coexist, but with mutual respect and mutual recognition that these rights are not something that can be done away with at a whim of the governments.
You didn't pick up a rifle, you didn't pick up guns, but all you did was talk, to begin to understand one another. You've done lots. Thank you very much. Yes. You've done it for all of us, for children yet unborn.